Welcome to Real Talk, Real Women. My name is Miriam Khalladi, and today we have a true pioneer in the self-help movement. She is an award-winning author, respected counselor and speaker, and it is with pleasure that I can introduce you today to Dr. Sirah Vettese. Welcome, Sirah. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm wonderful. Thank you, Miriam.
You're most welcome, Sirah. Sirah, what has led you on the path you're on today, and where did it all start?
Well, it all started in 1979 when I was thrown by my then boyfriend, soon to become husband, in front of a crowd of 3,000 people in South Africa to give a speech on meditation. We were there during apartheid, and the world was in a lot of turmoil. And so it was a really wonderful beginning to my career of having to be challenged to do something I had never done. And that made me realize how much I enjoyed helping and serving other people and being a contributor to humanity in general.
Wow, wonderful. On your website, you write that your passion is to help people feel deeply empowered, to get clear about what they desire out of life, and to make it happen. What do you feel the biggest stumbling block for most people is when it comes to getting clear about what they desire in life?
Well, people often have ideals and fantasies about what they want for themselves, but the biggest quality in all of us is fear, the fear of change. And sometimes the fear of change is far greater than the thing that they're dealing with, which is uncomfortable. People actually get very, very comfortable being uncomfortable. So the idea is to have the courage, which is the number one quality to make a change, and be able to have some tools and some behavioral changes that are consistent, because we're all creatures of habit. And unless we have, the courage to change something and the wherewithal or the willpower to focus on a specific habit, then we're going to stay stuck and we're going to be complaining about the same thing next year that we had going on this year. That's the way it is.
A lot of people tend to get stuck in the past. What is the best advice you can give on living in the now, in the moment?
Well, it's very difficult because things activate all of us, and we have a memory that gets formed on something that was extremely painful. And I have a process that I do with people around that. It's a behavioral issue, actually. It's emotional intelligence. And there are three things we have to do. We have to identify what it is, accept it, and then manage it. So we don't obsess if we use these tools. Identify the problem, accept it, and manage it. And that really helps move us from a place of suffering and obsessing and to a behavioral change. That is the number one thing that gets us there.
All right. When I invited you to come on the show, we briefly spoke about healing the inner suffering of the heart. Why do you feel it is that so many people seem to suffer through life rather than embrace and love it?
Well, let's talk about the hard stuff, because if you lose a child through an accident or through cancer or some terrible thing, or if the love of your life breaks your heart and they are run off with someone else, or if you have physical pain and you're suffering, there are many reasons for us to feel uncomfortable and sad and depressed. And we have to be really honest with ourselves about those compelling issues. But we also, by the same token, have to realize that we have this day. It has been given to us by God, and we must accept the problems and the issues that we have today and have the courage and the strength to carry on, even with having lost a child or with the suffering of a broken heart and a relationship that fell apart, or whatever issues we're dealing with in our lives. Hans Margolius said, "Only in quiet waters things mirror themselves undistorted. Only in a quiet mind is adequate perception of the world." And I think one of the most important tools is to sustain a quiet mind amidst all the suffering that goes on. So taking 5 minutes to step out of your life and meditate and become centered and feel whole again is a powerful and important tool to be able to live peacefully and joyfully with whatever conditions you are dealing with.
You use the words awake, aware, alive. Do you feel that is a sequence that people go through before they truly feel alive and whole? And what can you share about that?
Well, I like the term awake, aware, and alive because when we're awake, we're aware of our own negative behavior and our own negative traits. And we also are aware of the effect that those things have on other people. We don't want to cause pain or suffering to other people. And so if we're awake, we're aware of who we are. In fact, I'll give you a little anecdote about that. I knew someone, and then also read about it later, who was very involved with Mother Teresa. And she visited her in Calcutta to her healing place. And Mother Teresa said, she was walking by Mother Teresa every day, and Mother Teresa was ignoring her. And after, I don't know how many weeks of this, she started to feel a lot of pain and didn't understand why this woman would be ignoring her. And one day, Mother Teresa stopped her in the hallway and looked at her and said, "Have I offended you? And if I have, please forgive me." So in other words, it was an energetic moment where Mother Teresa was so aware of her own behavior without words that she understood she hurt someone. So to me, that's the greatest moment of your own awareness, that it can help you be kind and respectful and loving to the people that you're surrounded by. And so that's the awake part. And the aware part, alive is really what we owe our body. Okay, so if we are not eating healthy, if we are not exercising, if we are not in tune with our own physiology, then we're not going to feel very alive. We're going to be a bump on a log sitting in front of a television and be stuck in a feeling of depression. So in order to be feeling alive, we have to treat ourselves very well and kindly, with respect, and do the things that are going to make us feel good.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Yeah, thank you so much.
I mean, it's what we have to do.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I know that one of your favorite quotes from the magnificent Dr. Wayne Dyer is, "Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change."
Absolutely. To me, oh my gosh, that is such an important thing to consider, because depression and negative feelings come through your perception of how you are experiencing something. So for example, when you're suffering from something or you're feeling out of sorts, everything doesn't look good. You know, you wake up that day and you look around and nothing looks good to you or appeals to you. And you may even hear the sound of your thoughts, and they're not sounding very good. So it takes you down a very negative road. So your perception is altered when you are in a bad mood or when you're unhappy about something. And your behavior is going to follow your perception. So my thought is, if you can understand that there's a nanosecond in time, a moment where you can change how you're looking at something. And by the way, that's the work that I do. I am very committed to helping someone take the high road. Because when they take the high road, all this juicy, positive energy comes to you. You don't have to do very much. People can see the light that's around you, and they experience you differently. They fall in love with you. And so to me, that's a very important principle, to live in a joyful experience of your life, which is happening right now as you and I are sitting here talking.
Yeah. It seems so simple, but isn't this something that can dramatically impact your life? And can you tell us why you love this saying and what it means to you?
Well, I think that our lives are impacted by things that happen to us every day. So when we have conflict, there is something that happens in that moment that can take us to a painful place. And referring back to the three important aspects of emotional intelligence, are identifying, accepting, and feeling, the minute you feel something, it shifts and becomes lighter. So think about a problem that you've had in your life. And if you stay obsessed and possessed by the negativity, what it makes you is miserable. But when you look at something from another perspective and realize maybe that person that hurt me had a problem that I didn't know about. And they didn't mean to hurt me, but they, obviously have their own experience and I can't judge it. So I need to step out and live in this place in my imagination of questioning things rather than being totally fixed on what we think it might be and judgmental about it. But the other thing is, we all have a lot of patterns that are negative that we learn from our parents. When we're very young, we either adopt a trait or we rebel against a trait. And that's who we become in our adult lives. Okay, so if we are not understanding of our own personalities, then we have no formula for change because those behaviors are going to run the show. We're not going to be in charge of our lives.
Right. Let's say someone is unhappy with where they are in life, feeling they've come up against a wall. What is the first thing they can do themselves to break free from that place?
Well, the first thing is to feel the wall, is to accept the wall. And, if we're talking about how I work with people and I like to create change, is you really have to know what you're dealing with. Let's say there's a wall there and they don't know how to get past it. You have to know what the wall is, what it means to you, and why you're so committed to being at the wall. We have a lot of tools and technology in today's psychology that are extremely powerful and helpful, but there has to be one ingredient, and that is your will to change. The willpower that is inside of you, that drives you to make a decision that today is the day I am going to move past my suffering and move past this wall and create change. Any little change is better than standing at the wall. So for example, if you're an alcoholic and you've been suffering for years in alcoholism and you haven't found a good enough reason to make a change, they say you have to go to bottom. Well, you can create your own bottom by defining what it is that's important to you in your life and moving past it. Let's say your family has abandoned you for whatever reason, and you've been sitting in a place of feeling sorry for yourself for years. Then you deciding that you're going to get on with your life and find a surrogate family and be willing to go past that place of unhappiness, that is the moment that change happens. It's that desire and some action step that gets you to the other side of it. If there is no action, then you're not backing yourself up. And, I'm sure you've experienced this, Miriam. You have a friend who just can't stop talking about the same thing that they're upset about. 3 months go by and they're still having the same conversation with you. Maybe a year goes by and you realize, wow, that person's life has not changed one bit and they're still complaining about the same thing. It becomes very difficult to be a friend to someone who can't step out of that place. So if you realize how it is for someone observing a behavior like that in another person, how would you like to be that person? That's terrible. That's uncomfortable. We don't want that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And we don't want to drive people away because we're stuck, which is ultimately what happens.
Sirah, what has been your most rewarding experience in training and counseling your clients?
Well, it's a number of things. When I work with people and they are committed to making changes, I'm a motivational facilitator. In other words, I give you steps and we work together on making the changes. And when you come up against something that's really difficult, we work together on getting through it. So what I've noticed is the longer term people that I have had the most unbelievable success. You know, it's you come and you come to me and you say, I want to find a husband, or I want to make a partner in my law firm, or I want to advance my career. I believe that when you are working with a life coach, your chances of finding those solutions and getting what you want are far greater because you have someone objective on your team. And so my joy has come from tremendous success that I've had with the people that I've worked with over the years and watching them manifest things and make changes, and their life just soars. It doesn't mean that they don't have problems or challenges from time to time, but watching them go for it, I feel like a mother in a way who's watching a child get the training wheels on the bike, and then then they get the motorcycle, and then they're world leaders or something like that, because those things do happen, and I'm so happy for them. It thrills me. It really does, because I'm a caretaker by nature. So when you're a caretaker, those kind of things are impactful.
That's right. Yeah. You've been doing this for over 30 years now. You've trained and counseled celebrities, business executives, scientists, and world leaders. What is the most important life lesson you've learned this far?
Humility and compassion. And when people are needing support and tenderness, I need to give it to them. But the biggest lesson I learned was learning how to give it to myself, because I wouldn't be good at helping other people if I didn't practice what I preached and continuously give myself compassion for things that I might have failed at, or I might have not done well, or have the things that have challenged me. And I've had many challenges along the way, and things that have caused me to suffer, but it's made me a better teacher, a better healer, and a better counselor and facilitator and life coach, and a better parent. Okay. So I'm grateful for all the personal lessons I've had that I have come up against. It's given me a lot of great food for thought and fuel to help me in my work.
Great. Do you ever catch yourself holding on to a limited belief or some other mental obstacle? And how do you recognize and deal with situations like that?
Well, I think, again, we go back to the qualities that we are born with and stuck with. So, for example, when we are young and we are learning all these negative behaviors, some of them stick much more than others. And I think that in my work with people, I point this out, and it's certainly true for me, that some of them have more of an impact on us and are going to cause us more issues. And I work on those myself. Those are things that I have to realize I need to heal, I need to deal with. And so as long as I'm aware of the things that I struggle with, then I'm going to be able to really source and help other people. And being really specific and being able to work through them and wanting to work through them is the key.
Fantastic. What makes you feel truly alive and joyful?
Well, I love exercise, and I always have. I started yoga when I was 18, and I'm a real advocate of moving the body and stretching and feeling all those muscles reaching their capacity, and by being meditative at the same time. But I also like power walking, and that to me is just a wonderful exercise for your lungs, just filling your body up with fresh air every day under any conditions, rain or shine, it doesn't matter. It's a wonderful experience. So those are things that are important to me. Having loving relationships, and I like to think that people have to make peace with the world most of the time, but sometimes there are things that happen in your life where you just want everyone to love each other and to be happy and to be peaceful, and you want the world not to suffer. But unfortunately, the world suffers, and there is a lot of things that we have to realize cause the suffering. And from a distance, send our prayers and our meditative thoughts to those places that ultimately, on some level, probably impact what's happening. So when we meditate for peace, I believe with my whole heart and soul that those things impact the experience that humanity is having. If more of us meditated for peace, wow, wouldn't that be something?
What are some of the things you would like to accomplish and leave behind for the future generations?
Well, that's a beautiful question because I am a mother and I have very grown children. I love the idea that I would leave behind a happy family and loving children. My dreams are more personal, and that my idea of my own happiness would be that I loved well and that I had beautiful friends and people that were that knew I loved them and that I knew they loved me. When I realized that there are many people that I could facilitate and help, and I do from time to time by giving talks and being available for a lecture here and there. But the most important thing to me is that my children are happy and that they love each other, and that my grandchildren are happy and that they are feeling loved by the parents that are around them, and that my partner in life is also happy and we have a good life together. And just those simple feelings are what drives me every day to live the way that I want to live.
Yeah, great. And I'm sure they all are proud of you.
I'm sure. But, I learned very early on, because I've been in the self-help industry for many, many years, that the teachers have as much work to do as the students. And I stand by that. And I've known many great teachers who facilitate and write fantastic books. But those of us who teach, also need to do the work and be committed to our own self-realization, because that is the path to happiness.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a skeptic by any means, but I do understand and appreciate that those of us that are working in this field have as much to learn as the student.
Where can people go to learn more about you or reach out to you online?
Well, I have a website, and it's www.Vettese.com, and I'll spell it Sirah, V as in Victor, ETTESE.com.
Okay.
And I have books that I've written. My most recent, I have books on the unavailable man, which are all, check me out on Kindle. I have a ton of stuff on Kindle. But I wrote a book that is very near and dear to my heart called Spiritual Makeover, 10 Practices for Falling in Love with Your Life. And that one is my body of work and my basic beliefs about how you can transform something that is very negative into something positive.
And I will make sure to put all the links below this video.
Oh, you're so wonderful. Thank you, Miriam. And I want to congratulate you on the good work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Sirah.
Humanity, and to find voices and find feminine wisdom, and to serve people around the world to hear different messages. It's a wonderful thing that you're doing this.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me.
It's a great dream, and it's something you're visualizing and you're also manifesting.
Thank you so much. Is there anything you feel we've missed that you would like to talk about today, Sirah?
No, just great appreciation for you and for the work that you're doing, and thank you for being such a leader of consciousness.
Wow. Thank you so much for being on the show, Sirah. It was an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. Namaste.
And thank you so much for watching. My name is Miriam Khalladi, and I will see you on the next episode of Real Talk, Real Women.